And here we go. Hello, everybody. Hope everyone is all right. Nice to have all of you here, as usual. This looks good. Let's move this up. Number of viewers is here. So hello, everyone. Just looking at one last little detail. Pretty good. Pretty good. Hey, everybody. Hope everyone's all right. Let me just take the chat and move it away from here. And here we go. Welcome, everybody, to this live show, the Friday edition of the live show for Shortwave. So this is a live shortwave radio show. We are here every Fridays at 2000 hours UTC, and we talk about radio. Today's show will be a little shorter than usual because I have my brother's birthday party tonight, so I have to be there like at 6:30 or something like that, so I'll have to make it a little shorter than usual. But hey, we have another show tomorrow, so that's going to be cool. So tomorrow, 2000 hours UTC also, we're going to be live and talk about radio once again. And so, hey everybody, welcome aboard. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We are here to talk about radio. We just have a lot of fun tuning around the bands, answering questions, and whatever. I'm doing like multitasking right now. Insider Bills are installing on 2 PCs, plus the live show, plus the party, plus to get so many things going on. It's just crazy. So hey everybody, welcome aboard. Richard Cook, nice to have you here from UK. Bobby Burgess, nice to have you here. WA5107 SWL in Louisiana is a shortwave call sign. Dan Walsh, nice to have you on board. Happy Friday to everybody, absolutely. MDK2, Matt, nice to have you on board, Matt. KE0SFC, or was listener call sign WA0080SWL. Nice to have you here. The Vaults, nice to have you on board from Latvia. Rog the Tech Guy, nice to have you here. Jack N9IIF from Illinois, nice to have you here. David Snyder, nice to have you on board. Staten Island, New York, he's got his R75 receiver online on Global Tuners. Steve in Australia, nice to have you here. PLF Radio from France. Dexpar74, nice to have you here. David Arden, nice to have you on board. KJ4CMY. And it's pretty cool to have everybody here. 7 people gave a thumbs up before the show got going. Cool. Gordon Treadwell, nice to have you here. Gordon VE6GPT, nice to have you on board. Thank God it's Friday, yeah. Elton, nice to have you here. K3JWA in Baltimore. Dark Noise NL, nice to have you on board. Tuning is dolls and here's something. Cool. Ukulele, nice to have you here. Happy Friday. Richard Cook's got Voice of Korea, very strong, 12015. Ralph Bender, nice to have you on board. It's fun to have, the regular people. It's always cool. Yeah, no beer today. I'm on flavored water because my brother's birthday party is always pretty much, he probably has like, I don't know, 100 beers there. So, 100 is too much, but probably have like something. I'm going to get there and it's going to say, well, we got 48 beers. It's like, yeah, I think 48 beers is going to be enough. So, this is flavored water. Cheers. I don't want to start a party before the party starts. And tomorrow I'll have beer with the show. Cheers, everybody. Richard Clements, nice to have you on board. and always nice. And thanks for the email. I will reply to you, by the way. It was a nice email to get the kind of the feel of your who you are and everything. Is very nice to have that little email. Sorry if I haven't answered yet. I got 300 emails a day, so I try to manage. I would need an email secretary or something. But I will answer back. I did see your email. Thanks for checking in. F4GVE, Adrien, nice to have you on board. Salut. Max Estrong, nice to have you on board from Michigan. Bobby Burgess is doing very well here. Cool. William Helms from Florida, nice to have you on board. And always cool to have everybody here. What else do we have? We have Mark Clark from Central Pennsylvania. Nice to have you on board. So I didn't have time and didn't follow the schedule for HARP. I believe there's more testing coming this week, if I'm not mistaken. So this is going to be interesting. Calvin, nice to have you on board. Fancy shirt, yeah. That's the party shirt. Oh man, I purchased this shirt like 3 weeks ago. I saw it and it was on sale. I was like, I like it. I gotta have the shirt. Hey Joshua, nice to have you on board. Joshua Gosnell, nice to have you here. W4GOG. Jason Stafford, nice to have you on board. Of course, always cool. Frequency changes all the time, Max Headstrong. You gotta follow CT Fallen on Twitter. He usually posts the information of what frequencies, the times, and what the signal is gonna sound like, and when they're on. So you gotta follow that guy. Charlie Tango, Foxtrot Alpha, Lima Echo November, CT Fallen. He's the guy that just will give all the details of frequencies and times, and when they're on, he's usually live, and you got to follow because he will. Sometimes they have multiple tests. So what happens is that they will have tests, and they will of course change every half hour or an hour, and change the patterns and change the type of signal. And so by following him, you know where and when to look, and what to expect. So that's the best way to have it. Andy RC, nice to have you on board, Andy, from Cornwall, England. Pretty cool. Hey, Cosmic Lettuce, nice to have you on board, my friend. I haven't been joining your astronomy podcast lately. Most of the time, I haven't been home at the time that it is on, and a couple of other times I was like really busy. I will try to join in the next few days, Cosmic, maybe through the weekend. What else do we have? RT Gideon, nice to have you here. What is a good outside antenna for a Texan S2000 shortwave radio? Thank you, Randy in California. You know, Randy, remember first of all that the receivers like the Texan S2000 are already very sensitive just on telescopic. And that technically, just that already, if you have low noise, should not be too bad. For an outside antenna, you know, I always start with the basics, not spending a lot of money. Start by putting up a little random wire of any length, 20, 30 feet, 40 feet, whatever length you've got, and bring it in from the outside. The best way to bring it in is with a coaxial cable, so that there's a shielding of the all the interference from your house. That would be my starter antenna, because it's the cheapest, easiest. You might have already some speaker wire or whatever lying around, some electric wire of some sort that you can use maybe for it already. So it's inexpensive, and it's kind of the first to try out. And you might be surprised at just 20 feet of wire what could actually bring. So this is I would say the basics, the first thing to try out. And if you Google lots of like shortwave antennas, you'll see tons of websites that have all sorts of designs of antennas, and depending on where you live and what's possible, because that's the biggest problem with the antennas. what is possible where you are is the big thing that is making it often a little more complicated to have antennas. But you know, should be just start by trying with wire, a random length of wire. W5KJL, nice to have you here. Darkness says Tuesday he's going to record the International Space Station contact with a German school live on 145-800 with his RTL dongle and 2-meter antenna. Cool. This is going to be a lot of fun. So that means if you guys are around Europe, and that period of time, you guys might actually be hearing the contacts as there passes over the Netherlands, and that's always fun. Last time I had the that pleasure. It was the International Space Station was having contacts with a school in the northern part of the state of New York, and I was able to get that pass as it was coming through and hear the questions answered by the astronauts, and it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool. David Arnott says, Jill's drinking flavored water. The end of the world is coming. Flavored water. So what else do we have? Joshua says, Joe, it's the first time I see you drink water. On the tech show, I usually drink only water, flavored water. But from time to time, it's, and I don't want to start the party before the party starts. Because I thought if I start drinking, Friends of Mom beer, I'll take 2 or 3 before I get there, and I'll already be kind of a little bit drunk. And that's not how I want to start it. I want to go there and be the same straight guy as everybody else for the start of the party, because with my brother we tend to drink a lot when it's our birthday. So if I start early, I'm gonna be crap tomorrow. So by having flavored water, I'm gonna start at the same time as everybody else, and I don't plan on staying there too late, because tomorrow morning I have to wake up and go to an event at 9:30 a.m., which means when I go to my brother's, it's always I come back home. It's like the sun is rising at like 5 a.m. It's almost always like that, but this time around it won't be possible tonight, because tomorrow morning at 9 I gotta be somewhere. So it's gonna be that party is gonna be a little shorter also for me because of that. I'm lately I've been like kind of overloaded with all sorts of things I have to do, and not doing all the things that I would like. Like the walk in the park videos. I wanted to do much more of these than what I did actually. Problem is, every time that I said, "Hey, I'm gonna have some time this afternoon or tonight," there was something. Wednesday was raining. I was like, "Okay, it's raining. I can't go to the park really." And Thursday, like, oh yeah, cool. Then I had to go out for something, and finally came back home late. I was like, wow, okay. So I got to find some times to do things. Plus, all the live the live shows I got to hear, I got to do, and I got to prepare some stuff. This Sunday morning I'll be at the International Radio Report. It's all things that mean that there's a little bit of Gilles everywhere, being being a very complex life suddenly. What else do we have? No problem. Max said strong for the harp info. Mark Cup, where does the information on DX maps come from? It's reported by radio operators. Yeah, DX maps, usually it's amateur radio operators that will actually report that they have received, or I have seen a few that they're not necessarily amateur radio operators, but they have heard contacts, so they'll report it so that it shows up on the map. But usually it's amateur radio operators that are giving the info. It's a little bit like the when you go to the clusters and you get all of these amateur radio contacts that are moving by. Same thing. It's amateur radio reporting. They're just reporting to a cluster. Yep, just got a contact. It's pretty cool. So by doing that, it helps the community know what's happening. almost in real time, if not in real time, and it's kind of cool. And you should sign up and report if you hear some sportic e-skip stuff like that. I saw a comment a little earlier in one of the Facebook groups. Someone was saying, "Hey, 10 meters not been open all week," and it's funny because I turned on my ICOM 2 times, and 2 times I went to 10 meters and heard some signals. So sportic e-skip is mostly what is giving the signals right now. Solar activity being really, really low. Where actually, I just saw a report on space weather saying, man, we are on solar minimum right now. It's just nuts. So that is kind of where we are. So it's mostly sportic e-skip that's actually creating 10-meter contacts right now. And you know what? The problem with sportic e-skip is if you listen in for, just 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you hear nothing, and then you report, well, 10 meters close today. Well, you don't know. It could come alive half an hour after you looked. It could come alive at any time. Sportic e-skip can come alive at any given time. So you got to listen really regularly. If your radio's on, I have a tendency to go and check 11 and 10 meters, maybe every half hour, every hour or so, just to see if, even if there's nothing earlier or something now. I had some signals a little earlier on 27025, the channel 6, where I checked for sportic e-skip and for skip conditions. And there are some right now. So it's not super populated, but there's definitely some e-skip happening. I've got something on channel 6 right now. So James Campbell, nice to have you here. PL 880 tuning method experiment ongoing. Cool. Have fun with that Texan PL 880. Great radio. John Ritson, nice to have you here. 2E0JGR, nice to have you on board. Always nice to have you here. Where's the pirate flag? It's somewhere over there. It should be up at some point. I will put it back up in the background. Right now it's just there, kind of in a pile. I haven't completely finished here. There's a few things I want to remove, so I will be, but it's going to be up at some point. Don't worry, it's going to be there. Mark Cobb, enjoying your Android channel. Thank you, Mark. It's the Android channel is so funny because when YouTube had its new rules that you need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of views in the last 12 months to monetize, I fell to I opened maybe 18 or 20 channels over the years. A lot of them that I just abandoned, and don't use anymore, don't go there anymore. But the other day I started going through all of them because I wanted to see, out of curiosity, how much subscribers, how much views each had, and most of them are extremely basically I stumbled across the Android channel that I had not done a video over a year now, and was surprised to see that I had 1,100 subscribers. So I need 1,000, and I had 1,100. I was like, oh, this one is pretty good for monetization. The only thing missing is it doesn't have the 4,000 hours. It's sitting at 2,600 hours right now. So I thought, well, I got the subscriber count, and Android is a very popular operating system. I gotta reactivate this and do Android stuff, and there's going to be a lot of Android stuff coming on that channel, including tweakings and going around the systems and the Android systems and different devices, and talking a bit. I think it will be nice to talk about smartphones there, Android smartphones, also what's coming, the Google Pixel, stuff like that, Samsung Galaxy, whatever. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I just posted now reactivated the channel maybe 4 days ago, and from 2,600 hours, I'm already at like 2,850. So that means I'll get to 4,000 hours fairly quickly. And at that point, it's supposed to be reviewed for monetization, which means I would have a new channel monetized, which is cool because it adds to all that I'm doing. And I think Android has a big future here because, I mean, it's the most popular operating system in the world after Windows. You know, it's like Windows is second. Android is the dominant operating system because all devices use that. You know, if you remove iPhones, pretty much everything that's not a PC runs on Android now. So I think it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be a lot of, but it does give me a lot more work because I gotta add. Plus my commitment. You know, I don't know if you guys have seen on the VHF UHF channel this week. I posted a couple of videos because I don't want to leave it alone like I do and just do a live show. I want to post regular VHF UHF stuff. I want to thank um, Neil Toombs that actually supplied me with a really cool USB to serial adapter that I am now using on the ICOM. So my ICOM is not computer controlled like it used to be, but now it works really well because that USB serial adapter is really good. So this is going to be a lot of fun. What else do we have? Max Astron 9665 MT in Michigan. I'm using Grundig Satellite Portable. Yeah, my 665 at this time is still probably quiet. Joshua, have you ever made a pill bottle antenna? Makes you feel high on shortwave level. I have seen somewhere somebody doing that, but I've not done one myself at all. At all. Is there football on 9460? Huh. Do I have anything on 9460? Let's start by looking at 9420. See if I've got a. Yep. So Greece is coming in on 9420. $94.60 definitely sounds like some kind of sports. Absolutely, I'm getting that too here, Richard. 94.60. What's on 94.60 at this time of day? Let's check it out. NBA space. 94.60. Let's check that out. 9460. According to this, could be Voice of Turkey. Maybe Turkey's having some kind of sportscast. It's not impossible. Maybe it's Voice of Turkey having some kind of sportscast right now. Totally possible. Totally possible. So 9460, definitely, you just hear the shouting in the background and everything. It does sound like some kind of sportscast or something. What else do we have? MDK2, Matt is a proud owner of a brand new ICOM IC7100. Cool. Cool, this is pretty cool. It's a nice receiver. It's great transceiver actually. PLF Radio, I have the news about the ISS for next week, but it's in French. Can I put it? I put the link. Yeah, sure. PLF Radio, why not? Just put the link in. Absolutely, even if it's in French, no problem. Could use Google Translate or something if you wish, and maybe it has some link for English also. What else do we have? Monday and Tuesday, the International Space Station contacts in Europe. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Thanks for sharing. Scott Collier, nice to have you here from Missouri. Pretty cool. William Hill says, no alcohol. Jill always breaks me up when he says why he won't do vodka on the show. Oh man, I'm going to tell you the one thing. I have a vodka in the freezer. Bought a bottle of vodka last week. I think it was Saturday of last week, and that's always dangerous because one evening you're like, hey, let's do a little vodka drink or something, and it's like, okay, why not? And I'm working on my stuff, and looking at the videos I want to do for the next day, and oh well, okay, it's finished. Let's have another one. Doesn't it's not like beer or just really hard liquor. It's like it's flavored because it's all mixed with juice and 7 Up. So it's like it tastes sweet and doesn't taste. So don't have the impression you're drinking. At some point around it was Tuesday evening. At some point around midnight, I was looking at the screen here for doing things, and at some point around midnight, I was like, man, I'm drunk. It's like it creeps up on you at some point, and for some reason, sometimes when you drink, it kind of hits you at a specific moment. It's as if everything's all right, you feel just a little tipsy, then suddenly for some reason it just boop, you go from tipsy to drunk in a matters of seconds, and you're like, and I remember I looked and I was like, well, okay, this is the last one. I'm getting drunk. And I got to bed, and the next morning I had a headache, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to be careful with those little vodka drinks. But I rarely drink at home when I do not have anything. I drink at the live shows, and if I drink, I'll drink in a bar with friends. I will rarely drink at home, and for other reasons. Tuesday was exceptional. It was like, okay, why not? Let's have a drink. It's just crazy. What else do we have? Hey, Callum, nice to have you here. Max says strong. It's always fun to drink with. I always have a lot of fun, honestly. I always have a lot of fun. So, what else do we have? Joshua says, yeah, really, 10 meters and open made 200 contacts. It's just because people don't take the time. They don't take the time to really listen in. They just turn on, put it on 10 meters, listen for 10 minutes, and they immediately think, no, it's dead, doesn't work. But in reality, it is much more open than we think. And it's sad because I can bet you there are so many times that 10 meters was open and nobody was there. I can bet you that happened so many times. Because people, there's part of the ham radio operators that are sure that because it's solar minimum, 10 meters not open and won't be open for years. I remember hearing a ham radio operator on the 2 meter band, local band here in Montreal, and mentioning, oh, well, we're in solar minimum, so 10 meters won't be open before at least 4 or 5 years. It's like, wow, you really don't know your stuff for an amateur radio operator. You should know that there's, sporadic E-skip. And not just that, even in solar minimum, we have these little peaks. We have these sunspots that appear that sometimes can bring the solar flux to, 90 or 100. I can tell you, if solar flux breaks the 100 barrier, 10 meters open. 10 meter is open. It doesn't take that much of a solar flux and of having the sun more active for actually 10 meters to actually work. I remember 10 meters being open with a solar flux of like 85. So it tells you that just a little bump in the solar flux, and it's surprising how the maximum usable frequency suddenly bumps much higher than we think. So you gotta listen in, and it's sad to see that some ham radio operators lack some of that knowledge, and think that well, solar minimum, 10 meters dead, just crazy. Max Edstrong, 40 signal on 28185. 28185. Let me just check if there's something here. It's 28185 should be somewhere around where there's usually some beacons and stuff. There's the bottom part of the bottom part, like 28 to 200, 300. There's a lot of beacons there. A lot of beacons. Super Bowl channel where you make your own skip. Yeah, Joshua. NDK2 says, Matt says, nice music from VOA French 17530 from Greenville. Let me just check out if I can hear it over here. It's yeah, it's closing down. The Yankee Doodle. It's having the Yankee Doodle. So it's shutting down probably on that frequency, 17530. That's from Greenville, North Carolina. Vancouver Island DXer, nice to have you on board. A bit late getting here. It's because got in from some antenna work. Well, that antenna got to be up and working. I now have a pulley on a branch in a second tree so that I can easily raise and lower the center of dipole. Cool. You know, that's fun. Antennas are, if I had my home in a big yard, a big place for antennas, I would be probably trying out different antennas all the time. It's part of the fun of radio, you know, antennas, playing around with antennas, trying different things, different lengths, different size, different styles. It's part of the fun. I remember when I started on the DX100, I probably, the first year, probably tried 30 or 40 different designs that a lot of them that I would create myself, like, oh, let's put a really big vertical whip, or what about if I put this wire in a circle or a square? How about if I try to use the metal fence in the backyard? What would that do? That was exactly what I was doing all the time. And I was having a lot of fun with that. When I went to do the walk in the park videos with the GP5 this week, one of the funny things I noticed, where I was standing, there's a fence that goes around a baseball field. And that fence at the top has a metal pole that goes all through the top, and it's pretty long. And I noticed that when I actually bring my GP5 next to the fence, I start getting all these AM signals creeping in the 2 megahertz range of the radio. So if I would do an ETM scan next to the fence, it would have 10 or 15 frequencies between 2 and 3 megahertz that would register with, and you could hear it's a mishmash of all the medium wave stations from Montreal gathered there. So you can see that actually the fence was doing some kind of, you know, induction with the radio, and some kind of, there was really a mishmash of all the AM signals coming through, as if the fence probably does act somewhat as an antenna. And it's kind of interesting, you know, it's some of the fun things to just, like, you know, just cool, you know. It's like, you look at that, it's like, wow, this is so cool. Callum says, what are they doing to the harp because the weather has gone bad? It has nothing to do with the weather, Callum. Harp is really just it's experiments of you know, mostly eating up the ionosphere, seeing if they can change somewhat the propagation of signals, but mostly right now it's study of just checking out what signals are propagating or not, and where they are propagating to. But I can tell you one thing: even though HARP is, with the effective radiated power, very powerful, it's so insignificant that it doesn't even change anything in weather patterns whatsoever. I mean, the Earth itself its system is much more powerful than whatever man-made things we do, honestly, you know. And yeah, there's a lot of power in there, but it doesn't change the weather. It really doesn't change the weather. What else do we have? What else do we have? Let me go down, so check it out here. pistachio races. William says, man, I want a 50 watt driver into 3000 watt 2X8. Man. Brian, Iowa, nice to have you here. What do you scan with your ICOM R20? I just got the ICOM R30 and I'm scanning the airband right now. I scan my R20 because with the R30, you have the possibility of some digital modes, digital things that aren't available for the R20. But on the R20, I actually use my R20 a lot to scan VHF, UHF ranges for. I've never been much, and even with my older scanner radios, I've never been much of a guy that programs frequencies to listen to specific items, whatever, police or, it's never been my interest. It's never been what I want to listen to because, a lot of my friends, when they had scanners, those that had scanners at the time, they would, oh, I'm listening to the police or I'm listening to, yeah, but personally, listening to the cops is like, after 5 minutes, it's like yawn, boring, So what I like to do mostly is let it scan through a range and let it scan all the time. Just let it scan and see what signals it's actually finding. And you would be surprised. For example, if I scan from 138 to 174 VHF range, you'd be surprised when you scan it constantly of all the little signals, analog signals that are everywhere in there, but that often go unnoticed because they are, like they broadcast for a couple of minutes and then they might be hours without saying a word. So that's more of my interest. It stops on the frequency. I never heard something before and there's something there. I'll let it there and often what I'll do is I'll leave it there with the squelch and I press the record button and let it there for hours at a time, come back later and listen to what it caught. Because what's cool with the recording is when the squelch is activated, the recorder pauses. So you come back after 8 hours, you don't have 8 hours of nothing, or 7 hours and 50 minutes of nothing. You've got the 5 or 10 minutes of what happened on that channel. So I do that a lot with my Icon. And I found tons of interesting frequencies of, some small security guards at this or that place where, you don't know it. They have a security guard and they have a little radio analog transceiver for reporting back if something's wrong. That's how I found there's a shopping mall about, not very far from here, walking distance, I'd say 20 minutes. And that's how I caught their frequency. I was scanning one day, and I came across a UHF frequency. It was somewhere like 454 megahertz, or I don't quite remember, but I remember it's a 400 megahertz range, UHF. And I heard a guy talk. I just put it on the record. Came back, a couple of hours later, and it was like 20 minutes of talk in that 4 or 5 hours. And that's where, by listening in to what he was saying and the names of the stores and everything, I was like, oh, it's the shopping mall security. They're on UHF and I can hear them here. So that's mostly what I do. I let it scan through all the time. Sometimes what I like to do is, if I'm in the backyard, I will listen to shortwave. I'll be reading, spectrum monitor. I will sometimes leave it scanning the air band and listening to the different signals because there's a lot of planes passing by here. Sometimes I'll put it on dual watch and listen to 2 frequencies at the same time. Sometimes on some of the communications they don't have a repeater, but you have the input frequency and it's like, in the base is on another frequency, so you have kind of duplex thing where to listen to the full conversation you got to have both frequencies punched in, and which is nice on the R20 because you can listen to 2 frequencies at the same time, which is really nice because You punch in these two, and you hear the conversation going on, which is really, really cute. And so there's a lot of things like that that I really, really enjoy. So my R20 is a scanning machine all the time. I'll just let it go scan through, try to find all sorts of little unusual analog signal. It's kind of like DXing on shortwave. I'm the kind of guy that, yes, I listen to programs from shortwave stations, but for the most part, what I do with my shortwave radio is scan around, look around for all sorts of unusual things happening. And that's mostly what I like to do, finding unusual signals or, stumbling across a Mars network and, oh, look, there's a Mars network there and I didn't know, or there's this signal there, that's weird, or hey, there's somebody talking there, and what is that, That's more the fun that I have with radio most of the time. And, from time to time I'll just sit down and either listen to programs on shortwave bands, because, I like Saturday evening, I'd say Saturday evening. When I do shortwave radio Saturday evenings, my listening is typically program listening for the most part on Saturdays. I'll listen into the different stations, and in between I'll be, like searching for pirates. And if I hear a pirate, I might stay on the pirate station for a while. But Saturday evening is more of a, let's just do some program listening. But most of the time, I'll either use that or use the ICOM and tune around and see what's on. Okay, what else? Joshua says, I drink at home since I have no way to bar. I'm like, boy. I like to play radio when I'm drinking. Yeah, why not? It's okay. Yeah, Joshua, exactly. The people are not there, absolutely. Calvin says 11 meters wide open here in Durham. So, this week. So it's like, during this weekend. So, you got to listen in. 97.05, is it already over? Probably. Let's try it out anyways. I heard it on the, yeah, it's in French. Vatican Radio in French now. That's pretty good. It's 2030. I think there's let me just try. Is it 11.985? Trying to see what I can hear, but I don't hear nothing. So yeah, 97.05 is Vatican Radio in French right now, but I hear it really well. Pretty good. Douglas Perry, nice to have you on board, my friend. Ethan says, Elton says, if 10's open, chances 6 meters will be off open too. It happens quite often, absolutely, that both are. Absolutely. One live, two live. It's nice to have you here. Says 97.05 is Vatican Radio. Pretty cool. PLF sharing the solar flux of 70. K-index of 1, that's good. Walker Ball, nice to have you here. Always nice to have you on board. I like your new setup. Thank you very much. I like the setup. I'm happy to have this new setup, and I find it much more interesting also to work with during the week doing videos and stuff than the other setup. On the other side, it's still right now it's like a mishmash of things. When I was set up on the other side, I plan to have things completely change and have I will have some radios there, but like maybe a few old radios and stuff like that. I'd like to maybe try to have one setup over there for some stuff and one setup here. The ideal situation I would like right now is maybe have this is the shortwave setup, and over there would be for the VHF UHF show setup, and I would have another screen over there. So this is a 32-inch TV. I could have maybe a 32-inch TV there, or maybe bigger, like 40-inch. So things like that. What else do we have? Richard says 13650 Radio Romania. Let's check it out. 13650. Yeah, pretty good signal.
First, Moreover, Romanian officials talk about their wish to turn Romania into a military technology hub in the region. But how viable is this decision? Military analyst Radu Tudor is planting an answer, pointing to Romania's strengths.
Potențialul uriaș avem, pentru că altfel n-am fi exportat armament în
I'll say like Joshua, a solar flux of 70 is better than one of 65. That's pretty much. So, is it possible to turn interval signal into a cell phone ringtone? Absolutely. If you do, you can do a recording of it, David. And there's a lot of online. There's a lot of if you have an Android phone, there's a lot of apps that will let you use any audio clips that you've recorded with your phone and turn them into a ringtone. Absolutely. I use an app for that, which is an app from let me just check it out. It's by Stephen Cooper, and what I use is interval signals ringtones, and I got it here. This is interval signal ringtones. So I can set, say, I want a Deutsche Welle ringtone. I can actually set it. So now I got Deutsche Welle ringtone, or I don't know. Well, NHK. I got an NHK ringtone. Radio Berlin International from the old times. Right now, it's set up with Argentina. I've set it up as RAE Argentina. And I like that because what's really cool by setting it up like that is that you are sure that no one has your ringtone. So when my phone rings, everybody's like, who's that? That's my phone. And when other people's phone ring, with usually a lot of them, have the same darn ringtones, I know it's not my phone. It's like, no, I've got a interval signal thing. So it's really nice. But even on the iPhone, what you could do is use the phone's own recorder, record the audio, and use an app to turn it into a ringtone. So you could either take it from a website that has some interval signals, or if you record it directly from your radio. And absolutely. David Snyder says 13650, 30 dB, Staten Island, New York. Pretty good. 8PA1WX, nice to have you on board from the Netherlands. Pretty cool. Max says Strong's doing great with a 36-inch loop in the attic. Cool. That's cool. And yeah, exactly. I had Voice of Korea. Yep, I had Voice of Korea about a year ago. I had absolutely. Now if it would ring, I try to remember to put the ringtone off. But when right now, if you guys want to hear what I have, okay, I'll just put it like this. You guys gonna hear it. I got Argentina right now. Okay, Google. Okay, Google. Where's my phone?
I found a few phones. The first listed is a Samsung SMG965W. Should I ring it?
Yes.
All right, your phone should be ringing now.
So when I get a call, I'm getting this right now. This is the RAE Argentina ringtone. So it's kind of cool, So I do use interval signal ringtones, but I believe that app is not free. I don't remember if it's free, but it's Stephen Cooper that does it, and it's available in the Google Play Store on my Android phone. What else do we have? Joshua says, anyone having problems listening to Radio Romania? I listened to them on 13650 yesterday and they were choppy. I know that they have some transmitter problem. I've heard that they have some transmitter issues. Bobby Burgess says, does solar minimal equal HF pirates won't come out and play? No. Pirates will still be there, but they will adapt. What I've noticed mostly about pirates lately is that they've been choosing some of the lower frequencies. What happens is, like, for example, in the summertime, they're pretty much okay in this, the 6 megahertz range. So they'll be in that pirate band that is 6850 to around 6850 to 7000 kilohertz. In the summertime, usually they're not too bad, but in the wintertime, maximum usable frequency has been going down so much that I've been hearing a lot of them in the 5 and 4 megahertz range, where we wouldn't hear a lot of pirates before. So there's still as many pirates, and they're still going to be there. It's just they adapt their frequencies in consequence. One of the things I didn't notice for here, last winter, for example, those that would choose 6 megahertz range, I would almost never hear them in January or February or mostly December, January, because frequency wouldn't propagate here. But those that would choose 5 or 4, I would hear them really loud and clear. So they just adapt their frequencies if they can, because not all of them can. It's not all of them that can actually, really adapt. Some of them don't have the possibility to go to these frequencies, but those that can will. Donald Hausner, nice to have you here. Going down slowly. Sorry, guys. I am coming down slowly. I'm really far in the chat. Sorry, guys. Coming down. So nice to have you here, Donald Hausner. Always nice to have you on board. Cool. iMapper from Moscow. Nice to have you here. Pretty cool. Danny, Shortwave Radio DX. Nice to have you on board. Let's go down. David in Barcelona. Nice to have you here. David Arden's receiving Greece on 9420. What else is there? Let me just go down. Jane Dagger, nice to have you on board. Pretty cool to have you here. My name's Jeff. This is Shortwave Radio and radio in general. We talk about shortwave radio. Vault says, maybe when 10 meters start opening, people are interested in such rush to 6 meters instead. Well, some people, but a lot of people are not equipped for a 6 meter band also. So I don't think necessarily they will rush for 6. But because I think a lot of people are also happy to have 10. I think it's more of a, there's not enough listening. There's always that saying that the best amateur radio operator is the one that listens more than he transmits. Maybe that's the problem. Brett Wayne, nice to have you here in Salamanca, New York, KC2NXP. And I got your postal money order, my friend. And now I did exchange it. It did work. So thanks for your effort. Sorry it was so complicated with that thing. And thanks for your donation. And as I'm talking donation, just a quick look, PayPal.me. If you like what I do, you can do a quick donation, like Mr. Brett, and help out in what I do here. If you enjoy my shows, it's always a great thing. And thanks so much for everybody that donated. Patreon.com/readingcomputers, PayPal.me/shortwave, or to the Yahoo email that you see here. It's much welcome, much appreciated, and helps me continue what I'm doing if you enjoy what I do. Okay, so Radio Romania 13650. Hey, we've moved to more than 100 viewers right now, 103. Woohoo! Cool. Welcome everybody. Nice to see your Bermuda-ish shirt. Yeah, kind of found it cute. I had to. It's a little tight, but yeah, it's okay. What else do we have? What's shortwave? Shortwave is a part of the radio spectrum that actually the signals will actually bounce off the ionosphere. The ionosphere is piece of the atmosphere about 100 kilometers up that acts like as a mirror for these frequencies. So you listen to stuff like, for example, we've got Romania here on 13650. I'm in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. That comes from Romania.
For 0 hours UTC on 7375 and 9730 kHz. We can also be heard on the internet at www.rri.com, channel 1. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write an email at emko@rri.ro. Goodbye.
So this is Radio Romania. So there's all sorts of things like that. You can listen to tons of other types of signals, including maritime stuff, military stuff, amateur radio stuff, lots of stuff that you can listen to, for sure. Normand Gaudreau, nice to have you here. Bonjour from Medway, Maine. KC1JXK. No, Massachusetts. I'm saying Maine is Massachusetts, right? So Maine is ME. I always mix up these two states, Maine and Massachusetts. But the MA is Massachusetts. Callum says Richard shows the harp does affect the weather and the jet stream. Yeah, it doesn't really. I don't think it does. I don't think it has enough power to affect it much. But you know, who knows? Who knows? One Live to Live says 7133 lower sideband CQDX. Do I hear anything here on 7133 lower sideband? Let's check it out. Whoops, lower sideband. Anything happening on the 40 meter band right now? What else do we have? We're not secretly listening to people, but we can hear all sorts of things. We're listening to the world, basically. Yeah, Danny, absolutely. With what's happening with Alex Jones and his social media, everywhere on social media is being shut down on all the social media. So basically, it's getting more and more of a shortwave thing. Absolutely. There was an interesting aspect. Somebody mentioned Alex Jones in one of the forums. You know, and Alex Jones, it's like talking about Donald Trump. You got to be careful what you say because some people are sensitive about, you know, these things. And one was saying, well, you know, maybe it's a good way for a shortwave comeback. You know, have Alex Jones more on shortwave frequencies and stuff. And you know, it's just you know, he's gonna use shortwave like whatever. James Campbell, nice to have you here. It says continuously scanning from 15 through 45, at 45 the hour, capturing more stations, aggressively looping several times from 17,900 through 2245. So, loop tuning, loop scanning. Okay, cool. It's fun, you know, you can hear all sorts of things, you never know. Valtz is still using his Lincolnshire Poacher ringtone. That's a good one to have. But you know what? These ringtones, when you use the interval signal as a ringtone, everybody's like, what is that? I was at a friend's the other day, and my phone rang. And I started hearing that, and it was like, what is that? Oh, it's my phone. I've never heard that ringtone before. You probably have never heard that ringtone before, and never heard that before also. You know. It's just crazy. Oh, man. David Arden says, American Forces Network in Germany used to have its own interval signal. I have a recording of it. Oh, wow, this is cool. With full ID. Wow. I remember the American Forces Network stations back in the 80s. I heard them so many times. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. What else do we have? You know the problem, Danny Shortwave, the problem with social media, you know, even I got to be careful with what I talk on YouTube and and what I say on Facebook. Um, in the past couple of years, YouTube has really compressed what you can say and what is deemed to be okay. And every YouTuber now is kind of walking on eggs. You gotta just be careful. What am I going to talk about? And what am I going to say? And how I'm going to say it? Because it's getting super easy for anyone to be shut down just because of an opinion on something. So, you know. No problem, David. Happy to have the little tip for of the ringtone tip. So you know, it's kind of cool to have everybody here. So what else do we have? If I missed anybody, by the way, or any questions, let me just go down. Kind of went a little too fast here, I think. What else do we have? The Joe saw me. Yeah, I'm far in the chat room, so it's like it could take like a long time before I actually answer something. I can tell you that. What else do we have? Rodolfo65, nice to have you here. Always cool to have everybody on board. Simon Olivier, nice to have you here. 2E0HXE. Pretty cool. Take care, my friend. My name's Jeff. Always cool. Cosmic Lettuce says 103 viewers and only 41 thumbs up. Really? Yeah, it happens like that. It happens like that sometimes. Going down, let's just go. Hey, Fastlow, nice to have you on board, my friend. What else? What else? Yeah, he's still on Twitter. Alex Jones is still on Twitter, absolutely. It's kind of a political thing, you know, it's like crazy. But, you know, you got to be careful today what you do and what you say. And talking of interval signals, guys, I found something this week. Let me just try to find where I actually put it. I actually found this week 2 CDs, which are interval signal CDs that I remember ordering and autographed by Ian McFarlane. And it's the I Dance and Interval Signal series. And it's 2 CDs. One is for Europe and Africa Part 1, then there's Africa Part 2, Pacific, Asia, Middle East, Americas, and the Caribbean. And it's 2 CDs full of interval signals from the past. And there's identifications and there's tons of things in here. I got a really got a, I took them out because I want to extract them and put them in digital form in my computers. Because honestly, apart from my computer, I got nothing to play these on anymore. So I'll actually digitize these too. And I remember purchasing this maybe 15 years ago or something. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. What else do we have? What else do we have? Let me just go down. Hey, Jeff Miller, nice to have you on board. If I've missed out on anybody, by the way, please say hello. What else do we have? Elton says, does anybody remember VOA before Yankee Doodle became their interval signal? They used Columbia, the General of the Ocean, for about 20 years. I'm trying to remember, but I've started listening in 1982, really, more seriously. Pretty much almost always heard Yankee Doodle. For me, it's pretty much the only one I've ever heard, for sure. Val says, all I want to ask, why do you have saturation in HDSDR cranked up so much that your ST and brown white noise in the small sub window, and no signal spectrum is visible there. Well, that's for the audio, and I've never really tweaked it. I just left it like it is. I've never really been there and tweaked it, because here is audio. This is really the audio. So whatever audio I have is showing there. I just never tweaked it. That's all. I tweaked the other windows. I tweaked the saturation of, the upper part for the waterfall, stuff like that. But I've never really tweaked or played with the one on the audio, honestly. So it's simply that. Honestly, it's just that. So what else do we have? Post those CDs online so we can copy. Well, I don't want to do it because it's supposed to be CDs that you buy, so I will not post them online. But it's a great thing to keep, and especially they're not in there's no sleeves. I need to really copy these things for sure to make sure that I can keep them. So yep, interval signal CDs. Conet project, $32 on eBay. So yeah, that's another thing that you can purchase. And they were the ones that came to me when I posted the Lincolnshire Poacher. When I actually had it play Lincolnshire Poacher on a few months back on the live show, I got hit by a copyright strike, and they were the ones behind the copyright strike. And I countered. I said, no, I'm sorry, but the Lincolnshire Poacher is not yours. You can't say it's copyright. It doesn't. You don't own the Lincolnshire Poacher. Yes, they've made a CD with it, but they don't own it. And they immediately backed off and gave me monetization because they knew it's like, no, you can't prove that the Lincolnshire Poacher is yours. It's not. It's a recording from the past. So I think because I just immediately said, no. You're not going to block my monetization for a stupid Lincolnshire Poacher on the video. And they backed off immediately. But I know that it's them that actually flagged my video and said, no copyright. Well, no, you don't own the Lincolnshire Poacher. I'm sorry. But I am glad to talk about the Conet project. Glad to say if you guys want to have that, it's, maybe a great thing that you can actually check out. And if you want to purchase or donate or whatever, it's a great project. Absolutely. I'm happy to talk about it. But don't slap a copyright action in my face with something that you don't own. Because I will battle to the end. That's all I gotta say. All I gotta say. So what else do we have? Yes, Callum, Longwave. I know you're a big fan of Longwave. Yeah, the big site is intervalsignals.net. It's a great site for all the interval signals from around the world also. That's a very good one. By country, you got interval signals from long gone stations. It's a very complete, intervalsignals.net. Very complete place, absolutely. Jeff Miller, anyone have opinion on the Alinco DJX11 communications receiver? Anybody used it? Anybody have an opinion of what they think about it? Yes, there is a pretty big playlist of the Conet project on YouTube. Absolutely, Waltz. I've come across so many of those. Totally right. So what else do we have? So it's just copyright. It's like it's just so funny because when you look at recordings of old time stuff like that, there's no you can't copyright anything of that, you know, that's for sure. Hello, my era Academy fan fairy tale. So, hey, we are listening to the shortwave bands, tuning around. Like I said, it won't be a very long show today because I have a little birthday party for my brother later on. Nice to have you on board. Ronald Zuckerle, nice to have you here. I have a question. Can anyone explain why sync detection does not work well with a receiver that employs DSP? Thanks. Well, actually, it's not that it doesn't necessarily work badly with a DSP receiver, but it's the fact that sync detection is not all equal. They're not all good. So, an example here, I've got 3 receivers that has sync detectors. The problem with sync detectors is that a lot of them are crappy and have problems locking on on the signal. Plus, some have a lot of difficulty with the fade out and fade in of signals. Remember that sync detection is to be used only on AM signals and works only on AM signals. It's there to replace the carrier that the station has with a stable carrier from within your radio. So it's supposed to sync exactly on the frequency and then put its own carrier so that it will lower the effects of fade-ins, fade-outs, and distortion of all sorts because of the propagation of the signal. I have a DXing DE1106 that is the crappiest sync detector in the world. It just doesn't work. It barely can hold on to that signal. Because one of the things about the sync detector is also that it has to not only detect the carrier, the frequency, and get on that frequency, but when the signal fades too much, sometimes the sync loses the lock because it doesn't have its reference, so it loses the lock on the signal for a few seconds. And some are better at others than for keeping the lock. Texan PL680 that I've got here is the best for sync detection. It locks, it keeps the lock, and the signal really needs to go very weak before it will lose lock on it, honestly. It's more of a problem, Ronald, if you've got issues, it's more of a problem with the quality of the sync detection than anything else, most of the time. Most of the time. Eviety Arsenault, bienvenue. Welcome to the show. Always nice to have you here. Donna Hosner says Ian has an MP3 library on the site. Cool. That's cool. Max S. Strong says, I wonder if there is a warehouse of Conet CDs out there. eBay lists them as new in cellophane with many available. There probably are a few out there available, that's for sure. That's for sure. Oh yeah, absolutely. You can. It's not as efficient because the fact that sometimes the sync detector adds a little something more in the way that it locks in and keeps lock. But you can use upper lower sideband on an AM signal also to. I've done that so many times to improve reception. When I didn't have any receivers with sync detection, or like for example on my ICOM, I will simply put in an upper lower sideband on an AM signal that is difficult, and often be able to improve on the signal. Jeff Miller says my 8-ton satellite has a finicky sync detector. Yeah, some are bad. Some are unfortunately not working well. The best that I've heard of is the Sony ICF 7600. Apparently is probably one of the best sync detection ever made. I believe the Sony ICF 2010, Sony seems to be really hitting it really in the nail when it comes to sync detection. The Texan PL680 that I've got is amazing on sync detection. It just syncs, it just, really syncs with the frequency, and it's great, and it locks and it stays there. It's just amazing. What else do we have? Patrick Manny, hey, nice to have you on board. And yes, I will tell him happy birthday. He doesn't know who you are. He'll find it funny. So anyways, we'll have a little party later on. I'm starting to get hungry. I hope there's going to be some food there. The DGen D1101, the 1103, or the KA1103 is the same receiver. Does not have sync detection. Absolutely not. No sync detection there. David is a proud radio freak. I think we are pretty proud radio freaks. So, you know, I think we are pretty much all proud radio freaks for sure. Scott Collier says, Grundig 800 and the G3 have remarkable sync detectors. Oh, cool. Thanks for sharing that information. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Jeff Miller says, I used to freak cable box and all to get paid channels, just to get paperclip. That reminds me of when I had a Commodore computer and would do these, you know, there were these tones. You would pick up the handset for the at a phone booth and like just put the tones, and they would fool the phone company in making calls for free. That good old days. Good old days. PL Radio says Texan PL 680 and 680 have sync detectors. Yeah, but the one on the 660 apparently is not as good on the 680. 680 is better. Taha M, nice to have you here. So we'll let's check out a little bit if there's anything interesting in the bands. Let's check out the 31 meter band just out of curiosity. It starts 9265. Let's see if anything there. Greece is coming in 9420 with some music. It's past 2100 and there's something on 9460. I wonder if it's Turkey just let the transmitter on longer than usual, because nothing is past 2100 hours here. It does have the kind of feel of Voice of Turkey, so it's probably Turkey still on after 2100 hours. You know, Turkey has this way of doing this all the time, just keeping their transmitter on after the time that it's supposed to be off. What else do we have here? Let's check out. Radio Martina 9565. Anything else that looks interesting in here? Oh, what is that? Oh, look at that, these little lines. And it propagated just like a shortwave signal. This is so weird. I don't know what that was, but that seemed to be some weird communication thing. Okay. Anything else? Let's try the 25 meter band. See what's in there. So we've got... Signals aren't very strong today. I need to check out my antenna. Something's not right, I think. Or this is some... Radio van at Cuba on 11760. radio van in Cuba with an okay signal on 11760. What else do we have? Brett Wayne says, we had a party line when I was a kid back in the 60s. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, that, I remember you could, there was that number you would actually, there's another phone number, you would call the phone number, and it would ring back your phone, stuff like that. I remember that. Yeah, probably no longer necessary, absolutely. Piani says, propagation 11 meters here, but really weak. Yeah, we did hear a little bit of activity on channel 6 when we started the show about an hour and a half ago. And so, you know. Jane Dagger says, my shortwave radio is kaput right now, so enjoying listening to Jill. Aha! Kaput. You need to have it fixed or have a new one. Jane Dagger. Jeff Miller says, I miss my old CB days back. Oh, man. I remember when CB had so much stuff in there. Igloo Productions, nice to have you here, and I want to remember the days of 800, 900 megahertz scanners and listening to cell phones. Yeah. That was my, especially the weekends. You know, if there was one moment where listening to cell phones became interesting, is around midnight on a Friday and a Saturday night. That was priceless. You had all the guys in that were calling these, you know, lines to meet up. You know, hi, I'm Mike. I'm 6 foot tall. I don't smoke, and I like to, you know, whatever, and come back to me. And you know, you get all these answers. Hey, Mike, you know, your voice sounds really sexy. I'm Isabel. You know, whatever. It's like these were so funny. It was just crazy. And all the weird calls of all sorts of weird things. Where I lived here, there's where I lived before, there was a pool bar in front of, just across the street, almost across the street from where I lived. And it was a very well-known place for drug dealers. And because I was on the same cell tower, because I was in this next to the bar, I would hear all of these guys making these transactions of all sorts. It was totally nuts. I could hear all of them all night. It was like, okay. But man, that was some time. That was really, really some time, I tell you that. Even if we'd had that today, anyways, people text now. We just text. You know, I don't remember really when I called someone. Honestly, I just, you know, text people. We don't even call her anymore. We just text. There's the batteries. Okay, at least I'll send you batteries. Yeah, it was fun. You know, it was part of the fun of the crazy times. I remember the first thing that I did when I got my my Pro 2006 scanner was go and check out the mods for how do I activate the cell band, because you know it was just a little diode that you'd clip and it would open up the cell band. It was crazy. Ernie Turner, nice to have you on board from the future in a cold, wet South and cold and wet Australia. So wow, VK3DET here, it's crazy warm. Eagle Production says, yeah, crazy ones on the weekends. And the weekends were best. The weekends were just crazy. And you know, you had all these calls where you would, you know, have these fights, like the couple that's fighting over the phone, you know. You didn't play, you know, you should have stopped doing that, and you annoy me, and it's like, yeah, okay. Callum says, what do you think of DAB digital radio? A little bit, but it's not as much as analog radio, and not as much as long wave. You know, I am one guy that believes in let's move with the times, and so digital audio broadcasting is, of course, that for some types of medium wave or FM radio is, I think it might be a good idea. I'm not saying it's not necessarily a good idea if there's improved audio. The problem with that is more of, what I find sad mostly is, you move on to a new, it's like you move on to a new system for digital audio broadcasting, and you force everybody to buy a new radio. And you have all of these old analog radios that just aren't used anymore, And one of the things that I would say about digital audio broadcasting, two things. One of the big problems with that is that if the reception where you are is kind of, you're on the fringe of the FM signal, you don't get a clear copy. Digital it's all or nothing. It's not, you got it halfway through. And so for some people, it's like pushing them out of the radio listening. The other, so that's one thing that is annoying. And the other part is, I totally understand when we had to change from analog to digital television. I mean, boy, it's incredible the difference in the quality of the image is there. You see it. You see that picture is so much better than when we had analog. But in the radio side of it, honestly, on the radio side of it, FM radio quality is actually not bad at all. It's actually very good and very listenable for music. I could see maybe why, where medium wave might get some improvement, but I wouldn't rush to buy a digital radio. Well, I would, because I'm doing radio stuff and I need to have a digital one to play with and show you guys. But honestly, I don't see the need. I think it's what I think is that what's happening with that is that it's more of a thing where they are kind of pushing you to buy a new radio for something that's not necessarily useful or better, I don't know. Max Estron, Robert Prosper, nice to have you here. Yeah, the analog cordless phones of the ear, absolutely, Robert. I remember hearing I remember my mom was a big fan of that. My mom was always telling me, because I always had 2 or 3 scanner radios. So, my mom was always saying, hey, you got, you have one you can, I can use to listen to the cordless phones. And I would, and of course, yeah, I would, there was one that I'd say, look, it's yours. Listen, I'll program the cordless phone frequencies and just, listen in. And she'd listen in to the neighbors all night long. And, but there were a few moments where that was entertaining. I mean, I was not a big fan, but, I remember when I moved here, this will always be something I'll remember. I was getting 900 megahertz cordless phones. And one was from my downstairs neighbor they were a couple, guy and a girl, but the guy would go up north because he'd work at Hydro-Quebec, and he would work up at James Bay on, where there's the power stations are there. And they would have phone sex. And, with all the moaning and the whatever. And I remember one night, totally by accident, hearing some moaning and wondering what the hell's that, and then understanding that actually they're having phone sex. And the next morning being at the mailbox, and she was there smiling, and it was like, well, how are you? But in my head it was like, was the phone sex good? It was such an awkward thing, because it's like, well, I heard you having phone sex, and it's like, I don't know, it's, in my head it was like totally weird to be next to her. I was like, oh, how are you? Yeah, well, nice, you know. I almost said something like, you know, like have a nice evening yesterday. It was just so funny. Another one was there's a guy on the street here that gets a call one morning. It's maybe 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. I'm up early and I hear the call come through. The guy says, "Hey, I'm going to give you your $500 today. Can you give me your address? I'm going to go and give it to you today." So the guy says, "Well, I won't be home, but you can leave it in the mailbox." And it's a little house with an outdoor mailbox that's not even locked. And the guy gives the address, everything, and I'm like, "Wow, I could do a quick $500. You know, just go there and pretend whatever and take the envelope and hey, $500. I'm not that kind of guy, but I mean, some people would have done it. Some people would have done it. I was like, wow, I could get a quick $500 just going over there and pretending that I don't know. It's just crazy. So there are a few things like that that were surprising. There was when I moved here, there was an old lady. She was like 90 years old, and she would call all the companies that made the products, and she would complain that the new Tide soap doesn't smell the same as the other box she bought, and they would send her coupons for free Tide soap, or she would call and say, "Oh, I bought your frozen pizza, and I got heartburn, and I remembered I didn't have heartburn before." And I mean, every time, and these companies would send her coupons and tons of things of, "Oh, we're so sorry, madam, we're going to send you a coupon." And I was like, man, that woman is like getting tons of free stuff just because she's complaining of whatever. And I was like, man, okay, that's something. And you know, and she would like play the really old lady role. So she was like, "I'm 93-year-old and I've got 2 cancers, and you know, your pizza doesn't taste the same." It was like, really? Come on. It's like, you know, some of the funny stuff you hear sometimes. It's just funny. Oh, God. What else is there over here? Who has a tape over the camera on the laptop? I don't. But, I don't know. Maybe there should be. I don't know. Robert Prosper Pro 2006 was the best. Yeah, I still have mine. It's over there. The only thing I need to do is change the electroluminescent display. It's over the years it's gone. It's barely lining up now. I would need to change it. They have these strips that you could buy that you just cut the strip that you need and replace it when it's gone. Maybe that's what I should do. Or you know, I was thinking of maybe having some LEDs to light up the screen, because now it's like totally gone dark. That could be a project for Fastload if he wants to play with a Pro 2006 and put my display back. I've lost the drive to play with my devices and you know, open them and tweak them or fix them, or I kind of have you know, don't have the drive anymore to do it, honestly. But the Pro 2006 is a great analog scanner, absolutely. Pretty crazy. Jeff Miller, best thing ever heard on a NORA channel 264, saying Desert Shield turning into Storm on the Pro 2006. Wow, that's something. Just listening to these live action things that's happening. That was from the time of the Iraq and Iraq and Kuwait, when Iraq invaded Kuwait and everything. It was crazy times. That was crazy times. Brett Wayne says, "I get no TV now off air." Max Edstrong says, "I once heard military transmission believing the pilot of Command was very strange. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that, even as of today, you'd be surprised, even when there's a lot of digital stuff going around, you'd be surprised at the amount of analog stuff that could still be, you know, be heard from time to time. So it's like, yeah, Jane Dagger. Radio today is not radio from when we were young, I mean, today they play the same four songs all the time, and it's like just an annoying thing. Callum's listening to the BBC on Longwave, BBC Radio 4 on 198. Cool. When you turn this, says my cell phone is turned off every night and sleeps in a cozy Faraday cage at night, and Wi-Fi router turned off. That's all. It depends on everybody. Over the years as a tech guy, I had so many times where I actually had clients ask me, do you turn off your Wi-Fi router at night or do things like that? Vault says one could design digital mode that could accept losses and degrade gracefully, but I don't think that would change anything. General plan is to make everyone buy new boxes every 5 years. Yeah, it's kind of a gimmick. Let's have people spend money for something that already works very, very well. I mean, FM radio works perfectly. Why change it? I like it like that. Robert Prosper, corporate mass ownership of every radio station in the USA is what killed it here. It's not better in Canada. I'm going to tell you one thing, radio in Canada is horrible. I mean, we don't have... Here the FM band sounds like you could take half of the FM band and put all the stations and mix them up. And if you don't put any IDs, you would think that you're listening to your favorite pop whatever station. And what is annoying is that there could be so much more diversity of music, but no, you've got 8 pop music stations that play the same thing, one rock station which is some, and that is boring today compared to what it used to be. And you're like, well, why isn't there a country music station? Why isn't there another rock station that would play progressive rock or alternative rock or whatever? Why isn't there nothing? It's all the same mishmash of shit, basically, on the FM bands here too. I can tell you, I don't listen to the FM radio here. It's the most boring thing ever, honestly. M. Walker says some propagation on 3927 LSB. It's a little early here for 3927. 80 meter band, we still have several hours of light left. So it's kind of, but you know what? No, look at that. There's something here. There's some AMer, I think, here. So you know what? There's some 80 meter has some little things coming, actually. Yvonne, nice to have you here. Good afternoon. I get a chance to join on Friday. Pretty cool. Eagle Productions. I got 900 megahertz too on my scanner, but always more stuff. Sorry, cell calls on 850, 900. Yeah, there's almost nothing anymore to listen to. Man. What else do we have? Jeff Miller says, I have no filter, so I'd probably ask her, Jill. It does create a very awkward moment, I gotta say. Next, you're in the mailbox and it's like, yeah, I heard you yesterday when you actually, anyways. It was just kind of funny. It was like, okay, you hear that all the time, it's just funny. Ah, man. Filters make the world less fun. Well, I think we gotta have a filter up to a certain point. The filter is different depending on everybody. I, for one, don't have that big of a filter, but I do have one just for let's just not go too far here. Do they still have those 1-900 numbers? I think they do. Honestly, I think there's still 900 numbers that for all of that stuff. Pretty sure it still exists. But today what's competition is that you don't need to call a number anymore. You have all these dating apps on your phone. So you just put a dating app on it and it's like, okay, you're gonna meet all the chicks you want in a vicinity of 3 kilometers. Do you have to be rural to use a rotary phone? And is it still cheap? I mean, how do you dial a cell phone? Man. Jane Dagger, squeaky wheel gets the best attention. Yeah. Eagle Production had a Pro 2026 unblocked 800 band. Still have it. Yeah, still have my 2006. My first ever scanner that I actually unlocked for a cell phone was a Pro 2022. That was the one that I actually was using. And the Pro 2022 was, I sold it for, I don't know, I sold it like $50 to a friend of mine, one of my best friends, because I purchased another scanner. I purchased the Pro 2006. Honestly, today I would have kept my Pro 2022. I regret actually selling my Pro 2022, honestly. So it's one of those things where I should not have sold these radios. I sold a lot of radios that I totally regret selling today. CR, nice to have you here from Brazil. Ham radio operator PY2NN 73. Always nice to have everybody on board. It's cool to have you on board from Brazil. Really, really cool. Robert Prosper says New York Police Department is still mostly analog, which surprises me. Well, you know what? There was an article about the New York Police Department. And I wonder if it was was it in Spectrum Monitor? They actually had started going fully digital. And one of the reasons why they actually backed off and put a lot of analog back was because they want to be open. They want to, there was like, they had the impression that by going digital, they would kind of want to hide what they had to do and what to say, and to kind of open up, because they knew a lot of people were listening in. They backed off a little bit, kind of, well, maybe people should see what we do so that they understand that we're not doing bad things or whatever. I remember reading about that somewhere. Oh wow, Eagle Production from Canada living in Bali. That's cool. Cool. Matt says, yep, why change it? Money. Why let people listen for free when you can charge them? Yeah, absolutely. Totally understand that. They want us to just spend money doing all of that. 48 Pluto, nice to have you here. That's why I listen to the 48 meter band. So it's just crazy. Just crazy. I find it sad, all of these analog radios that are just like unused. It's just so sad. So sad. Dart Vegan, nice to have you here. My friend Dart Vegan. Which SDR receiver are you using? I picked up a RTL SDR dongle recently and it's been a bitch to set up. Brad VA3XWL. So yeah, the RTL SDR dongle, you just need to, if you are on a PC, you gotta make sure that you understand to put that special driver, that Zadig driver thing that replaces the original driver for the RTL SDR, and then set up the software depending on what software you want to use. It's not totally for newbies. An SDR has a minimum of computer knowledge that helps. Um, the SDR I'm using right now is an evety, AFEDRI. It's a long wave, medium wave, short wave software defined receiver. It is actually plugged into my home network. So it actually is tunable through my network, which is fun because I can actually take a laptop, listen to my evety in the kitchen with a laptop on Wi-Fi. So it's a lot of fun to use. Vol says, from what I read in theory, DAB should provide same coverage at 10% of power of VHF FM. Not sure how that works in practice though. From what I've seen in practice, from what I've heard in practice, DAB is not delivering what they are supposed to, honestly. It's nuts, you know. What else do we have? So, it's definitely not plug and play, I agree. Normally I'm pretty good at this stuff, but it's been a frustrating experience so far. Yeah, this is something that you got to tweak and play around with, absolutely. And one of the biggest problems, if you use one of the things that is bad if you're using Windows 10 is that every time you get one of those big updates every 6 months, that driver gets reset back to the RTL driver, and you got to reinstall that Zadig driver for it to work again. And that is one of the annoying things of anybody using Windows 10 and a RTL dongle, is that reinstall of the driver all the time when there's this big updates. And you know, they have updates every 6 months on Windows 10, so every 6 months you gotta reinstall the driver. You know, you fire it up one day, it's like, it doesn't work. But you know, you get the hang of it at some point. But I agree, it's not, you know. And if you have the you know, one that has HF, and you have to also put the offset and turn on the offset when you're on HF and turn off the offset when you're on VHF, that also adds part of the difficulty to it. And you know, knowing what is the offset I gotta put to have it work with the up converter, and it's like, oh man, it definitely isn't the easiest thing in the world, that's for sure. It's super complex, but you know, you gotta tweak and you gotta play around with it. And you know, it's like when I had the Soft 66 here, one of the added things of the Soft 66 is the tweaking of that little RF control, because if you put it too sensitive, it kind of has problems, and it's like, well, it adds a layer of complexity, that's for sure. But when it works great, it's really, really, really nice. When it works great, it is fun to play with. I have a lot of fun playing with my evety here and seeing all the signals. It's kind of cool, honestly. Jean is my therapist. Okay. I think I am the therapist of a lot of people. So take care, Jane Dagger. Always nice to have you on board. And always nice to have you here. With SDR play around, LTL SDR is clearly not the cheap recommended way to go these days. Yeah, but SDR play is still much more expensive than what a lot of people want to do, because an RTL SDR is $10 and a SDR play is above 100. So it depends on the amount of money that people want to spend. And that, I gotta tell you, a lot of people don't want to spend a lot of money on radio stuff. That's for sure. But there's definitely better than the RTL, that absolutely. Those SDR play stuff look really, really nice. Max That's Wrong says, if I only could get my IC8600 display to export to plasma TV. Well, isn't there a output of some sort on the 8600? There's something about that. Gary Horman, nice to have you on board from Tokyo, Japan. Pretty cool to have all of you here. It's nice to have you on board. So hey guys, I know it's only an hour and 15 minutes, but I do have to attend a little party tonight. So I'll be saying bye-bye for now. Tomorrow we will be here, and tomorrow we'll have a good long show. We'll have, a regular 3-hour at least show, as usual. We'll chase pirates tomorrow. We'll have a lot of fun, and I think it's going to be a great show tomorrow. So come back tomorrow on this channel, 2000 hours UTC. We'll tune around the bands. We'll have beer. We'll have a lot of things. I'm sorry to make it a little short, but better than nothing, as they say. See you tomorrow, 2000 hours UTC. Hope everybody enjoyed this show today, and see you soon, everyone. And don't forget, if you want to donate a little something, it's much appreciated, and pretty much. I'll probably get a little drunk, Cosmic Lettuce, but I don't think it's going to be as too bad. I am going to be a little careful. So see you tomorrow. Sorry for going away such quickly. Sorry, and take care, everybody. See you tomorrow, same time, 2000 hours UTC. Bye, everyone. And take care. Love you all. Yeah, it's time to go. Oh, man. Bye-bye.